Hello, my name is Amanda Crayhill, and today for my advocacy speech I want to talk about these. For my policy, I believe that contraceptives should be readily available in all California public high schools. So let's talk about our teenagers. Sometimes a talk is not enough for a teenager. As our bodies mature and we begin our journey into adulthood, the topic of sex will be something that readily comes to our minds. When it comes to teenagers, particularly those in high school, sex is often something that our mind cannot avoid. Sex is a natural way of life and it's a means for reproduction. However, not all individuals feel as natural about sex talks or sex as others. Sex is something that is oftentimes frowned upon for our teenagers in their youth. However, this shouldn't be our area of focus. The unprotected sex of teenagers can lead to pregnancy, spreading and contraction of STDs, and whether you knew it or not, it has a direct hit on our taxing system. Regardless of whether our children are having sex or not, they need to be informed and they need to be safe. I believe that in order to keep these children safe, we need to make contraceptives available at all California high schools. For years, teenage sex and pregnancy has been a very popular and debatable topic to discuss. Regardless of the debate, the statistics speak for themselves. In the U.S., at least 34% of women will become pregnant before the age of 20. Among these pregnancies, 80% of them were unintended. Reason for this high amount of unplanned pregnancies comes from both a mixture of lack of contraceptives and lack of knowledge. We need to educate our children and provide them with the necessary precautions to decrease these numbers. Unprotected sex of teenagers not only ends in a child, but it also directly affects these women's lives forever. When broken down, less than 50% of teenage mothers will graduate from high school. These teenagers are our future and we need to protect them. As adults, we provide for our children until they are old enough to provide for themselves. So why are we not providing the necessary information and tools in order for them to keep their bodies safe? Though teenage sex and pregnancy is a hot topic, it isn't something that's on everybody's mind. Many people do not believe that teenage decisions can affect them, when in fact they do play a huge role. Direct costs of teenage pregnancies, as well as the spreading of STDs, can affect our population as a whole. Lack of use of condoms and other forms of contraceptives can directly result in the spread of various forms of STDs. Although the age gap of 15 to 24-year-olds only accounts for 1/4 of the sexually active population, they account for nearly half of the 18.9 million new cases of STIs. So technically, though they are having less sex than the rest of us, they're contracting and spreading more STDs each year. These cases of STDs can easily reach the adult community. In addition to STDs affecting adults, teenage pregnancy has a direct connection to our taxing system. From birth to age 15, public cost research shows that a child of a teenage pregnancy costs U.S. taxpayers $1,682. And in addition, nationally, teen childbearing costs taxpayers at least $9.4 million each year. We need to see that their decisions are not only affecting themselves, but they have a direct effect on the rest of the community and population as well. Most people will argue that against my claim and say that contraceptives are readily available to our youth. But are we truly making them that accessible? Studies show that teenagers are oftentimes too scared or embarrassed to ask for condoms. So how does keeping them in the office or at the nursing station really helping them? We need to make them easily accessible, and we need to do this at every school. According to a 2007 AP IPOSIS poll, almost 2/3 of Americans will agree that allowing birth control to be provided to students at public schools. They agree with allowing birth control to be provided at public schools. So let's initiate this change and let's make this happen. We need to be the voice for these children, since most of them will be too afraid to stand up for themselves. So if we break it down, what are the reasons that 1/3 of Americans still do not feel the need that contraceptives should be available to our youth? Lack of education, fear, and religion all play an important role in why adults do not want to provide condoms to our youth today. When it comes to education, some parents believe that if we provide these forms and educate our children, we are initially giving them the okay to engage in sex, when in reality, speaking to our children and providing them with the tools to be safe actually helps them more than it hurts them. Research shows that actual sex education does not lead to promiscuity. Children who do receive sexual education at home are actually less likely to engage in risky sexual activity. However, religious purposes still do result in another reason why it's still not happening. A standoff demeanor does come with many forms of religious beliefs. Abstinence only is still a readily taught practice among teenagers, even though the facts show that abstinence-only education programs are not effective at delaying the initiation of sexual activity or in reducing teen pregnancy. Our ultimate goal is making it so that not only are they provided in public schools, but that the parents feel okay with this and that they do let their children know that they're available. And doing so to make it fair to everybody, we make parents have the options of sending their children to a private school instead of public if they don't agree with these terms. Overall, the statewide providence of contraceptives to teenagers in all California public schools did not only positively affect our teenagers, but it would have a direct effect on the rest of the population. Though the availability of contraceptives to our youth, by giving them the availability of contraceptives to our youth, we can ultimately cut teen pregnancy rates, stop the contraction of spreading of STDs, and stop the dramatic hit teenage pregnancies has on our taxing system. In addition, we are also providing our children with overall education and means to be healthy and informed. We need to stand up for our youth and give them the voice that they are not provided. We need to act now because action will lead to a better life for them tomorrow. Let us push for healthier lives for our youth and the availability of a better life and one that is free of stress and worries. Our children should be provided with the means to be safe and remain safe, and one way we can do this is by allowing them to have direct access to condoms and other forms of contraceptives.